everyone. Welcome to the CTE Application for Funds guidance. In this webinar, I'm going to go over the background on the new process for application, how to fill out your local needs application, how to fill out our wish list, and then some important reminders. So first, let's talk a little bit about why we're doing this. So Perkins 4, as you all know, was updated and reauthorized and is now called Perkins 5. As a result, there is a new process that's required. So districts must now submit a local needs assessment every 2 years. So what that means for you all is that each school requesting funds for CTE, either federal or state EIA funds, must complete a needs assessment along with the program of study that you all completed last year as well. All requested items for those funds must directly tie into the needs assessment. So this needs application or assessment, here are some things to remember. So please complete the document completely. Be sure you're carefully reading each question. All the information is located on the CTE support site as well, and links may be accessed electronically. Feel free to work with other CTE schools in your local area to gather the data, but each school must submit their own, but the information may be the same. So let's take a minute here and look at this application and go through it. You can see here, this is our CTE site. It's on the Federal Programs Resource. It's a good way to show you. But if you look here, you'll click the local application for funds. And now we're going to go into this a little bit and just review it quickly on what you need to complete. So here you see the first page, the table of contents. This talks about the state's vision and mission and why they're kind of doing this. I'm not going to read all this. You all can read this as you go through it. But what I do want to make sure is to really take a few minutes to go through each section and what you have to submit. So the first thing is your team. So here you're going to put your team name, your date, and who's in those roles that are filling this out with you. You can do this in an advisory meeting, you can do it at your school, but it's highly recommended you get some of these folks involved in this process as well. Here we have our specific names of those individuals that are on this committee and filling out this assessment. So the first thing you need to look at is the labor market alignment. So what we're doing here really is making sure that the programs we're offering are what is out there as a need in the labor market. So what you're going to do is, the first step is what programs and pathways in the region align with the labor market needs. So your strengths are, what are the programs aligning to that you're offering as compared to the needs in your region, and if there are any gaps, to identify those gaps as well. This question is asking, according to the data, what programs, if any, are not offered but are needed. So if there are programs we're seeing as a need based on the labor market data, but you're not offering it, and you're thinking of offering it, or you're just identifying some of those needs. So what's the program need? Where did you find that? And what evidence? Here, the next question, what programs, pathways, but are not supported with local labor data? So this is going to be where you may have programs that you're offering in your building that's been shown as a community need, but maybe it's not identified as the local labor data. So an example of that may be if you're offering, for instance, let's say cybersecurity. If that's not shown as a need through the local market data, but you've done a survey of your community, of your staff, of your students, it's something that's really a high interest, then that's where you're going to put in why you're offering this program. So it's not unique to the local labor, but it is unique to your specific school or area. The next part you're going to look at is your student performance. So here's where we're looking at those post-secondary outcomes that we also as a district are rated on for Perkins. And you can see here, these are all the different areas that we're rated on. And then you're going to complete this section. So when you look at the post-secondary performance data, what are the strengths of the programs and what are your local examples? So here are some questions that will guide you as you go through this. So how are the students performing in your CTE programs? What is the variation in performance among students in different programs? So here you might put in how are your students with disabilities performing in these programs? How are your schools and colleges performing compared to the state overall performance? I, at the district level, will be looking at the state data. So if you can just put how your kids are performing compared to the local area, that's fine. I can take care of the state piece for you. Here we're talking about, based on the available data, what are the student performance gaps in the region? Again, you're looking at the local area to find out what's the gap and what's kind of that root cause. So here again, we're looking at really those same questions. So what is the gap that our students aren't performing where they need to be? Next, we're looking at an analysis of the programs, the size, the scope, and the quality. Here again, the state defines what those mean. And what you're going to do is just go through and answer these questions. Am I offering programs in which students are choosing to enroll? Am I offering programs with too low an enrollment to justify the cost? So you're going to go through each one of these questions and provide an answer for your specific school or in the programs you're offering. Next, you're going to look at progress towards implementing CTE programs and programs of study. So how do schools and colleges in the region implement programs of study? So what is your process? Here, what they're asking, again, you don't have to do this from a state level. You're looking at this from your local level and your school level. How are you implementing these programs of study? And what are your strengths and what are your needs that you're seeing? The next question is specifically about Perkins 5. And here they're asking about how are you recruiting, retaining, and training CTE educators? So what is your process at your school? What are your strengths of that process? And what are your needs? Are there specific needs or instructors you can't find? What challenges are you facing when looking for teachers to teach these programs? In this section, they're talking about access and equity for all students, especially our special populations. So what are your strengths in your buildings? What are your gaps? And what are your strategies to improve those gaps? So how are we meeting the needs of those identified groups, our students with disabilities, our ELL, our homeless, our single parents, all of those identified groups in CTE? We want to make sure that we're including them in these programs. This last section is just a survey for you to fill out. So as you're going through this and you're completing this as either a group, a few schools together, or an individual, tell us what went well in this process, what could have been different, what individuals were invited but didn't participate, what other initiatives should be leveraged, how will you build connections, and what is your established schedule to continue to meet and work together. I highly advise doing this during a local advisory committee. Then you'll have all the key players as you kind of go through this. And here what you're going to do is you're going to sign as a secondary, post-secondary, and the business partner. This appendix here, which is nice, and this is all on the support site as you saw, these are, you can just click on these and it will take you to a lot of the information that you actually need to complete this. So you can see there's the work dashboard, the community profile for your region. So for example, if I clicked on that, I opened it, it's automatically going to take me to this link, which I then can choose. Let's say if I wanted to choose Jasper County, it's going to give me that community profile there on Jasper. So it's going to have a lot of this information that you actually need to complete this application. I'm going to close out of that. if I go back and I go to the work dashboard, here you're going to look at services online, and here's things that you can look at: labor market info, employers, job seekers, things like that. So these are really helpful sites that the state has put in as links already for us to fill this out and to easily complete this document. Let's go back to our PowerPoint. So once you go through that application and you've completed it, then you're good with that piece. So now I want to talk a little bit about the wish list, because this is another piece that you'll complete in order to apply for funds. So this is an Excel spreadsheet that will be sent, or actually is attached in the Epicenter submission. But I just want to go over a little bit of how to fill this out and the information that I'm going to need in order to process or consider your request for funds. So the first thing here you can see is priority. So you want to prioritize these items on how important they are to your school. So 1 being the highest, you know, if you have 10 items, 10 being the lowest. The sub-program name. So what is the program or core, you know, the program or completer or whatever that this is going to go for? What is the function name? What is the object name? How much are you requesting? What is your school name? And then what is the CIP code and name of the course? So we need the code and the name of the course. CIP code and name, and then course code and name. I apologize, it's 2 different boxes. Oops. Let me go back. This will all be one sheet. The next thing is describe the activity for which the funds will be budgeted. So here in that box, you want to tell us what is the activity that these items are going to be used for. Describe here under which Perkins indicator, and please include that indicator number that those activities or supplies or whatever you're requesting, what does that relate to? And then a new column has been added this year to describe how the activity directly relates to the needs assessment. So how is all of this tied together to your needs assessment? These don't have to be long, you know, long answers, but it needs to tell me enough to show that what you're requesting relates directly to that needs assessment and also to those Perkins indicators. So just a few reminders. So in order to be considered for any funds, either state or federal CTE, you must complete the following. So you must complete this local needs application. You must also complete that program of study. All of that as well is in the CTE support site. So we also need a 2021 new program of study. There's another webinar that was completed on that, which also will be, is also available on that site as well. Everything must be submitted in Epicenter no later than March 27th. Applications will not be accepted if all the information is not included and received by that date. So if you're a school who's returning to CTE and requesting funds again, some of this is done. You have your program of study from last year. You may just have to make a few tweaks, copy and paste, and you'll have this year's. For new schools, you're going to have to develop everything yourself, and that's going to take a little bit of time. The task has been created in Epicenter and is searchable. It is called CTE Application for Funds. All of these documents have also been attached to that submission as well. So you don't have to go to the support site, search them, all that. It's all attached in that submission as well, including the wish list. We are asking for the wish list early. This is just kind of a, what do you think you're going to need? Once I get the allocation from the State Department, which doesn't usually happen until about May or June, I will resend you all those wish lists back out to see if you want to make any changes or if things have changed. So this is like your first preliminary wish list. It will not be the final one, but it'll really get you guys to start thinking about what you're going to ask and how all of this ties together. So this gives you almost 2 months to complete this. I realize that it is a lot of information. If you're having trouble or you're not sure what to do, here's my contact information. Please reach out to me. I'm happy to get on a call with you. I'm happy to make a visit to your school to walk through this. But I am here to support you. But this is our new process. And keep in mind, again, like I said, it is due by March 27th. But if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out and we'll walk through this together. Thank you, everybody, and happy writing, and we'll see you soon.